Hi everyone. We are going to start the next unit, which is all about percents. And today we're going to just talk about how to convert fractions, decimals, and percents. We're going to use your calculators. You'll need your note sheet that you, or your notes packet that you have gotten from me. And you're going to fill in your notes as you go through this little video. Okay, so go and grab those things. You can pause the video if you need to. Make sure you have a calculator, something to write with, and your notes packet. Okay, so as we start talking about percents, we'd want to think about some of the different ways in which we see percents being used. And you guys see percents a lot. One of the ways that you see percents is obviously when you go shopping, right? Coupons, discounts, that type of thing. Tax is a percent. You guys see percents on your grades. So all of those things are important and very real life that you need to know how to deal with percents. So in your notes packet, you will see that the next slide says a percent is a ratio of a number to 100. Okay, remember a ratio is just a fraction. So when you see like a number like 85%, okay, that just means that it's 85 out of 100. Okay, so that's how we can write it as a fraction. Obviously, that's not in simplest form, but we can write those as fractions and as decimals. 85% as a decimal is 0.85. Okay, when we write percents, we always use the percent symbol. That's how you know it's a percent versus a fraction or a decimal. Okay, so we want to be able to convert between the three. We need to be able to change a percent into a fraction or a percent into a decimal or vice versa, the other way around. Okay, let's start with changing a percent to a fraction. Okay, if we're going to start with a percent and change it into a fraction, the first thing you're going to do is drop the percent sign. When we change it to a fraction, we no longer need a percent sign. Then we're going to put the number as a fraction over 100, since percents are out of 100, and finally simplify. So I have given you an example. 80% would be, or 88% would be 88 over 100. Those numbers can both be divided by 4, so it would be 22 over 25. So if I gave you, let's say, 4%, and we wanted to write that as a fraction, that's the same as 4 over 100. And then we would simplify that. 4 and 100 can both be divided by 4. And so that is 1 over 25. Okay, you will run into some situations that you can't simplify it. If it's 27%, and I write that as a fraction, that is just 27 over 100. And we can't simplify that all. Now, if you need to pause the video to write down those examples on your notes, you can do so, and then just hit play once you have that written down. The next thing would be to change a percent to a decimal. Okay, and in order to do that, you would have to divide the number by 100. So you can use your calculator to just divide the number by 100. Or the really quick, easy way to do that is to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So you can pause the video, fill in those blanks. So an example is 51%. Now, if I'm going to change 51% into a decimal, currently the decimal is at the end, okay? Even though we don't see it there, we know it's there. And then we're going to move the decimal 2 places so it becomes 0.51, and we drop the percent sign. Now, I might have 7.2%. Okay, and if we had 7.2%, that is a percent, and I want to change it to just a decimal without the percent sign. That means I'm going to take my decimal point and I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. So there's 1, 2. Okay, that leaves me with a blank that I need to fill in. So it's 0.072. Okay, if the number is like 80%, and I want to change that to a decimal, okay, right now the decimal is behind the 0. So I move the decimal 1, 2 places, and it becomes 0.8 or 0.80. You do not need the 0 at the end though. Okay, so that is changing a percent to a decimal. Again, you can pause the video if you need to and write down any of that in your notes so that you have it to look back at. Then we're going to change a decimal to a percent. To go the other way, you would multiply the decimal by 100. So fill in that blank, pause the video if you need to. Or to go from a percent to a decimal, we move the decimal to the left. If we go from a decimal to a percent, we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right, and then finally put our percent sign on. So some examples are listed here. 0.08, we move our decimal 2 places, is 8%. 0.7, again, we move it 2 places, which leaves us empty place, so it's 70%. Okay, if you had 0.5, you have to move that decimal 2 places. So that would be 1, 2, and then you have to fill in that empty spot. So that would be 50, and then put a percent sign. Okay, if it was let's say 1.6. Can't get my, let's try that again. So again, if we were to say 1.6, then we would move the decimal 2 places and you get 160%. Okay, and obviously you can go over 100%, that's okay. All right, the last one would be change a fraction to a percent. And here's where your calculator is going to come in really handy. Okay, so we're going to write the fraction as a decimal. And that is the top number divided by the bottom number. And it has to go in that order. Top divided by bottom. Okay, and then you're going to change that decimal to a percent. So the first example is 3/5. If I put that into my calculator, I would do 3 divided by 5, and you get 0.6. Then you have to change that to a percent because that's a decimal. So you move the decimal 2 places to get 60%. Okay, if you have 7/40, 7 divided by 40, and you get 0.175, move the decimal 2 places is 17.5%. Now, sometimes you won't get such nice decimals. Sometimes you might end up with like 2/3. And when you do 2 divided by 3, you get 0.66666, so it's a repeating decimal. Okay, I'm going to have you always round to the nearest hundredth, so 0.67, and then change that to a percent is 67%. Okay, again, pause the video if you need to and write any of that in your notes. Okay, the last 2 slides on this notes sheet, you're going to just skip. At this point, you are going to move on to your homework, which is on Delta Math. Okay, you will go back to Canvas and click on the homework for today, which is a Delta Math assignment. When you get there, the assignment is going to look something like this. Okay, it's going to be converting fractions, decimals, percents, what we were just talking about. So if it looks like this first one, it says convert 0.237 to a fraction in simplest form and a percent. So as a fraction, that is 237 over, in this case, it's 1,000 because the 7 is in the thousandths place. okay? And then as a percent, remember you can just move the decimal 2 places. So it is 23.7. And since the 7's not repeating, we put it in the first blank and submit our answer. Okay, and then you can go to the next problem. Here we have 95.1%. Okay, now that might be like 95.1 over 100, but we don't like to have decimals within a fraction. So we'd have to take that decimal and move it behind the 1, which means to put another 0 on the bottom. So it'd be 951 over 1,000. As a decimal, okay, we move our decimal 2 places to the left, which is 0.951, and submit your answer. Okay, and again, if you get stuck, it does tell you exactly how to do the problem. Okay, let's look at one more just to help you out a little bit. Okay, this would be 81.2 over 100. Now again, you guys, you cannot have a decimal in a fraction. So to get rid of the decimal, we add an extra 0 on the bottom because there was only 1 decimal place. Okay, and then we would put 812 in the non-repeating part of the decimal. Okay, and submit. Oh, and I forgot to simplify. So, did you guys see what I did? I had 812 over 1,000, but I forgot to simplify the fraction. So make sure you simplify it. You're going to go through and finish that Delta Math assignment, and then you are done for the day. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know, and I will try to help you out the best that I can. Okay? Have a great day.